When I first looked at the reading list that was posted on Blackboard, I struggled choosing what book would be best for me to read. So, as I was scrolling, I came across the words Diary of a Teacher's First Year. And it kind of just like it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I realized that I want to learn about what someone thinks of teaching from the perspective of their first year in the program. Because, I mean, more than likely, you figure out if you want to teach or not by the time your first year of teaching is over. So that's kind of how I decided how to read the book. Educating ESME, Diary of a Teacher's First Year. Because also you get to read the journal entry, so you get to read what she actually thought. So the first thing that stood out to me was just how bold she was when it came to her authority in her school. And I loved how she stood up for what she taught, and she wanted to teach the way she wanted to teach and not how everyone else taught. So that really stood out for me. And one of her entries talked about when her principal came into her classroom and said she wasn't handling her class well, and her class was just completely out of control. And he came in there and said all of those things, so she looked dead at him and said, "No." And then she proceeded to walk into the middle of her classroom. She raised her hand to call the students to attention, and every single one of those students stood up, raised their hands, and they silenced their mouth. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever read, because I was sitting there thinking, I hope that when I start teaching, that when I do that, my students will just be quiet and they'll be comfortable enough with me and know I'm not mad at them. I just need them to be quiet. So she didn't have to raise her voice or anything. She just had so much control over her students, and she was totally confident in herself and with her discipline procedures that she knew she didn't have to yell, she didn't have to take a recess time away, anything like that. She was very confident. So I loved how she did that. I also loved how she strived very hard to make educating and learning like fun and meaningful experience for every student in her classroom. So she didn't just sit there and read out of a book or anything like that. She actually made it fun. And as an elementary education major, I mean, I took this to heart because she was so passionate. She's so passionate about her students learning, and she's passionate about her teaching. And she always wants them to always have fun, but to always learn at the same time. So she was very creative in everything that she did, and that just meant a lot to me. She was always on top of things with like her arts and with her crafts and all of that stuff. She put things into a big picture and made me realize that you can't just sit and read to your class. You have to actually make them learn, but you can't make them learn by being mean or anything like that. You have to be fun. You have to engage their minds to learn and let them do different activities to stay involved with the learning process. So, like I said, you can't just sit there and read to them. You have to do an activity with them to make them want to do it. You have to make your students want to work with you. So, all in all, I really enjoyed the book, and I think that everything I read in it, I'll definitely take it with me when I start teaching school. And I really, really enjoyed it, and I recommend it to every single elementary education major or an education major at all. So I really enjoyed it.